Okay, so this would be a feedback slash critique for White Tiger. Let's. I'll just keep it unlisted. It's fine. So where to begin? So you know the drill by now, right? I am not a professional at this game by any means. I'm just someone who really enjoys Tekken and enjoys, Feng, right? My experiences from playing, fighting, blah, 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 right, are just food for thought. And from what I'm seeing, here's where I think you can improve on or what you can do, this and that. Yeah, so you know the drill by now. I will. I'll just proceed. Here.
The chisel with the Lars. Come on, get on commentating. Come on.
Let's
I can't do it by myself. I'm not dumb enough. Ooh, the chisel. Strong start.
All right, sorry, I was busy in the background there. Let's see what we got. White Tiger, okay.
Okay, so like right here, right? Why the approach with the running slash kick, right? You're playing offline. And even if you were playing online, I'd still recommend this. You need to practice dash blocking, right? Let's talk about Feng for a second. Feng's biggest strength, right? His utmost biggest strength is that no matter what the situation, the opponent is constantly second guessing their offense, right? At any point, Feng can press a button and it'll lead to a counter hit knockdown, which leads to decent damage these days thanks to buffed shoulder, right? You need to keep inducing hesitation in your opponent so that way you can then, enforce your mix-ups or press your buttons however you want, right? You can do that a lot, but so there's layers to it. The first thing is to establish is what type of opponent are you facing? Are they aggressive? Are they defensive? Are they passive? Are they very aggressive? Whatever. And you do that with dash blocking. Approaching in with the move like while running 3, even though it gives you a lot of reward both on block and hit, right? Any slight movement and then you whiff like you see here, right? Or you're not giving yourself enough time to figure out what your opponent's habits are, right? How are you going to make them second guess? How are you going to make your opponent second guess their offense if you don't know what their offense is going to be like, if you don't know when to make them second guess it, right? Now, granted, obviously in a first to setting, this is very difficult, but that's why it's so important as Feng to focus on strategies that minimize your risk as Feng and maximize the amount of information you can get from your opponent, right? Feng has to take risks on his big mix-ups, right? He doesn't have to take risks on approach. You have instant while standing arguably one of the best, not like the best, right? Obviously, sidestep left is a thing you got to worry about, but it's one of the stronger approach tools in the game, especially with the speed buff, right? You can be at range 3 and then all of a sudden, instant while standing 1, and now you're in front of the opponent's face at -1, right? That's incredible, especially for Feng with his plethora of sabakis and counter hit tools, etc., etc., etc. Right? Incredible situation to be in. So you need to practice approaching with dash blocking and practice approaching with instant while standing 1. Doing these big commitment moves as you see here, right? If at any point you instead were to
busy in the background there. Let's see what we got. White Tiger.
What if Machisel had a stronger reaction, right? Lightning screw, and then all of a sudden you're eating 60 plus damage when you didn't need to, right? You could have dash blocked in and forced the Lars to do something.
Okay.
The chisel with the back dash.
Let's keep going.
Come back.
I don't. Is forward 2 that safe? No, you're -9. So I'm gonna. I don't know. It's not the worst thing that you did, right? But you have to be careful when you press after forward forward 2, right? You're -9. If the Lars did literally anything, he would have, besides like some 20 frame move, he would have beaten your jab, right? This is not a situation where you're as safe as you want to be, right? You have to avoid pressing buttons at -9. This is a bad habit that will get you killed against stronger players. Trying to move and press at -9 is gonna result in a lot of like just situations where you'll get counter hit or beat up by stuff that wouldn't work. Now obviously as Feng you have a lot of incentive to maybe mash, to maybe press a counter hit tool, etc, etc, etc. But there's a difference between having that be your default, right? And having that be I know you're going to press something here, I'm going to press a counter hit tool, and you're going to get fucked, right? Your default should be respecting your frames until you have more information on your opponent. Once you have more information on your opponent, press whatever button you want, right? Make an educated decision. Don't just fall into this flowchart, right? Which is where I think you're going to have a lot of issues here. Under pressure, under pressure or in situations where you shouldn't be pressing, your default, right? Your default is to press something. The action of pressing something in situations you shouldn't is not inherently bad. The issue is when you are pressing them as your default, right? Like you are in a situation where you're unfamiliar, you don't know what to do, and then your default option is to press a button. And that's bad. It's just straight up. Right? Because when you're not doing it with information, opponents who will use that information against you, being like, he's pressing buttons where he shouldn't. I can either block, duck, I can do a response to that, right? You have to be very careful here, right? Try not to avoid pressing buttons here. Or try to avoid pressing buttons here, I mean.
Chisel, we haven't seen.
So like right here, this is more information that you have to work with, right? You did sidestep 2. It hit it on block. You're now +3, right? This move's busted. Sidestep 2. Holy shit! Yeah, it's +3 now. That's crazy, right? So you're +3 now, right? Which means, okay, you're +3, and the Machisel isn't respecting it. Wait, what did you try and press? Back 2? Oh, you're trying to press 1 + 2. Okay, so now you have this information. Wait, how fast is... Oh, yeah, it's 16, 17 frames, so 13 frames. So yeah, it'll lose to jabs, which is understandable. It's a crumple hit stun on normal hit? That's crazy. What the fuck? Anyway, right, so now you have information to work with, right? Like right here, you know, okay, he likes to challenge back turn. He's not afraid of challenging that situation, right? So the situation should be, okay, in the future, I need to first make sure I'm doing options to discourage him from challenging. So that should be, you know, back turn 1, back turn down 3. Or the other option is, once you do the sidestep 2, immediately press down back and get out of that situation, right? So maybe you can go for a whiff punish, right? You have a lot of options here. Just remember that, like, okay, my opponent is willing to challenge it, so I need to first ensure to discourage them from challenging it first, and then go for the big mix-ups.
Chisel, we haven't seen these guys that much this season, at least.
Yeah. Probably at home being weebs.
Honestly, I didn't even realize you could step there. I guess my question is, like, why immediately go for the wall standing 3? This is going to be a running theme here, is I feel like you're focusing too much on these big call-out moves, right? So right here, you have the life lead. You got a good poke in. You're further cementing your life lead. Is like, why do you have to go in, right? What reason do you have to go in? Why not just whiff down back 4 from super far away? Why not just keep whiffing Kenpo from super far away, force Machizzle to come in and approach you. Lars's approach isn't that scary. A lot of it will be like some risky low that, like, yeah, you might have to sometimes guess, but if you block it, you're most likely killing him, or you can often sidestep it. As far as I'm aware, I only have like some basic rudimentary Lars knowledge here, right? But that's the issue, right? Is that you are pressing your advantage in a situation where I don't think you need to, right? It is perfectly okay to just let the clock run out. Go on defense, force the opponent to approach you, and then as they approach you, use your keep out, use your big call out moves, like down back 3 on approach or something like that, right? Trying to just let me keep pressing buttons when I have the life lead here as Feng. I feel like you're just throwing away your advantage and giving your opponent more opportunities to just demolish you, right? So like right here again, if Machizzle was a bit more aware and like ready for the punish, he would have just whiff punished with lightning screw or even just arc blast, right? You put yourself in a risky situation that you didn't need to and would never have happened just if you just hang back a little bit, right? Yeah, that's my 2 cents there.
Catching up to their fruits basket.
I know WhiteTiger.
What is the benefit of back 3-3? It's -6. I don't quite understand the usage of that move here. Like, why do you need to use back 3-3? What are the advantages there? The built-in sidestep I don't think is evasive enough to really do anything against Lars. Like I said, he's linear, but I don't think back 3-3 is that evasive, is it? I feel like if you had conditioned him more to expect movement, to expect sidestep 2, then sure, back 3-3 would be fine. But I feel like you haven't conditioned him enough to start ducking when the moment you start sidestepping, right? I feel like you're not quite there yet. Not yet. Anyway.
Had school, but he wasn't able to make it out. Like most of the time. Not sure what Machizzle did.
Again, it worked out, right? But at any point, should Machizzle just dash block your big call out shoulder, and this is what I'm talking about, right? You get put under pressure, and then under pressure you just kind of crack. Right, you have a big call out move and you're like, awesome, if this works, awesome, and if it doesn't, you're fucked. But it's like, okay, yeah, that's working against Machizzle, but you're just building up bad habits when you're under pressure against stronger opponents or just more passive opponents who are willing to just wait a little bit. You're gonna die, or you should die technically, right? That's why it's risky to use shoulder like this big call out move when you don't need to, right? What was your? Oh, sorry. So he does the throw. He has the life lead. He's approaching you. But you... Oh, and you... It was blue... Oh, no, it wasn't blue shoulder. He's now enraged. That's why the flare showed up. It's just like... Okay, it worked out. But again, I think it was the wrong decision because... to me it says, okay, this is the default. If I put this guy under pressure, he's gonna press a big risky button that I can just block and then kill him for, right? That's the issue we're having here, is that your default is to use a risky button or a risky call out when you don't need to.
Now with the Lars,
and that worked out just fine, right? So compare the risk reward scenarios, right? Back 1 versus shoulder. Should both be blocked? Is anyone really consistently block punishing back 1, right? In a high intensity situation like this, why would you not be able to also just back 1 when he's, dashing in at you, right? Or you can do something like down back 3 while standing 1, back 1, something like that, right? Again, think about Feng's strengths of the opponent will like to press buttons, and then Feng is great at just going, no, you don't get to press buttons.
Ooh. Ooh, that button.
Right. The whole strength of just like, you make your opponent second guess their own offense, forcing them to fuck up their timings and try to play this whole huge metagame against Feng's counter hit tools, which is really valuable.
Air Force One energy though.
see what he can do. Oh. Okay.
So again, right here, right? Like, why the wall standing 3? What prompted you to do that? Why not just get back up and move out of the way, right? Let's keep going.
Oh. Okay.
Was that like a quick get up catch or something? That was pretty cool.
Got that extra foot.
He's pulling some Paul Z things.
The low.
Oh!
He should have killed you, but
Nope.
whatever.
Get out of here.
Or maybe he doesn't have a
Can't
crouching
hit
punish.
There's no buttons hitting zone.
That's unfortunate.
Oh.
Oh my god. How?
From
That's really funny.
downtown. Oh, he blocked it?
All right, so let's analyze this situation again. So
how?
got the combo, you go for the Oki. The
Downtown.
Oki's blocked.
Oh,
Unfortunate. You get hit with wall standing 4, and then you
Blocked it?
immediately shoulder
Blocked
it,
it?
right? And it's like, why? Why would you think that shoulder would work in that situation? Shoulder has no evasion, right? Its benefit is that it's 13 frames, which is pretty fast, right? But he just hit you with wall standing 4. Typically, wall standing 4s are like +5 on hit or something, right? So if you're doing shoulders, which is 13 frames, and you're doing it from a -5 disadvantage, right? So adding in 5 extra frames of recovery, your shoulder, which was like 13 frames, is now suddenly 18 frames, which has no evasion, right? And you're literally throwing yourself at your opponent. So any stray button that they throw at will catch you. So in that situation, right, what was your thought process? Why are you pressing shoulder in that moment? He's on the offense. He just pressed
How?
From
wall
downtown.
standing 4,
Oh.
right? He's ready to start pressing buttons. Why would you think that he would suddenly like default to ducking or something?
Oh, he blocked it? The block the
Right.
low?
And we'll talk about the hop kick in a second. So it's constantly going back to this issue of, on defense, it feels like there are a lot of holes in your game plan. You're not sure how to handle yourself under pressure. You're not sure how to, really take back your turn outside of, trying to steal back your turn, right? The ebb and flow of the match, you're just not sure when to like turn on the offense. So your default is press a button under pressure, and it's I just feel like these are bad habits that are gonna get you killed.
I saw that. Fucking.
Like, right, even there, for whatever reason, somehow the backswing blow got stuffed, right? And it's like, you again, these are moves you cannot rely on because they become bad habits, right? Even if it didn't get stuffed, if he just chose to block at that point, right, you would just die. Now you can make the argument, it's like, well, the reason I'm pressing all these buttons is that he's not blocking, which is like, okay, sure, that is a viable argument, but that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's like, once you know what type of opponent you're working with, then sure, press your buttons, do whatever, right? But I feel like the issue is that your default is to do that, right? It doesn't matter who you're facing, you don't respect their pressure, right? And it's not necessarily, and it's not inherently a bad thing, because, the whole thing about Feng is that he gets to disrespect people, right? That's awesome. But again, that issue is like, it should not necessarily be your default. It should be understanding first how your opponent is choosing to attack you, and then from there going, you're choosing to attack me like this, I'm going to press a button here because I know I am confident that I will disrespect you here. There are going to be situations where you're not confident and you have to disrespect them because you need to make something happen and you need to make a comeback. That's fine, right? But what I'm trying to stress, again, is that the default should be safe, measured play, because that is more consistent across a variety of opponents, right? It's just goes back down to, yes, pressing these crazy reward buttons might reward you here against this opponent, but across more opponents, across a longer series of matches, you will end up getting hurt more often than you are rewarded, which is the core issue here.
Sweep them from across the map type of shit.
Like you're pressing up forward 2 and then immediately doing forward 3-4, and I'm not sure why. you're minus 10 after up forward 2. You're never going to get punished, right? But you're minus 10. So forward 3-4, which is like what, 23 frames? 21 frames. Now you're doing a 31 frame move that is advancing you towards the opponent. In what world are you going to be able to, you know, outrace your opponent by throwing yourself at them? I don't want to harp on this point too much and sound like I'm trying to attack you. I'm not. I'm just trying to stress again the importance of you got to know when to pump the brakes. And I feel like that your over eagerness to constantly apply your game plan, your buttons, your rewards, right? You're focusing too much on that and not doing enough to remember that this is a 2-player game, right? You have someone sitting across from you in the same arena, right? And you have to be aware of what they're doing and take that into account to better increase your chances for success.
Oh, yeah. He's oh. Okay.
And again, you're not really getting punished because Machizel doesn't know the matchup, or maybe it's tournament nerves. I'm not going to try and attack them, but they're not punishing you as hard as they should be, right?
I hate that.
And to your credit, you are taking advantage of that, right? Like you just
Good.
that's whatever.
The back turn for
You want. Like you're taking advantage of that, right? Like they're clearly someone who likes to press their buttons. I don't disparage you for wanting to press buttons. But like right here, right, when you're under all this pressure, if just simple waiting and then Machizel would have just died, right?
He tried to sweep a speed again, bro, in the beginning of the match.
Ooh. Counter hit.
He tried to sweep a speed again, bro, in the beginning of the match.
I think your combos are fine, but yeah, you gotta practice that. Make sure to practice that, because when this launches, right, that's like one of the most broken things about Feng right now is that this launches, and you should, if you can't do the launch, at least get the shoulder. Yeah, I won't talk about that too much until we talk about combos and stuff, but yeah, I would definitely practice that. Oh, right, the hop kick. So constantly you're just, I'm not sure what exactly, I faced another Feng and they're also doing the same thing. They'll just start doing random hop kicks. And yeah, I guess the whiff recovery is kind of fast, right? But when you're very close to the opponent and it's got a pretty dog shit hitbox, right? Like you saw how it just whiffed in your opponent's face and stuff like that. You're putting on so much risk on yourself, right? Any patient opponent, what would normally be, it's like a hop kick and then the opponent will suddenly turn into like a bull that's looking at a red flag and it's just like charging at you. Another opponent's just gonna look at that and be like, I'm gonna wait and then whiff punish you, right? Like again, it's the core issue of you're pressing buttons when you don't need to, right? You don't need to be pressing all these buttons.
Oh,
nice.
What are those moves called where you... It parries the move in front of you. Like it pushed.
I'll talk about this. I'll talk about this when later in punishment / matchup knowledge. But like you did core circle forward 1 and it worked, right? And then you just did a bunch of mids and he just kept blocking them, right? So in your head, what should be going through your head is like, oh, this dude's just not gonna block any of my lows, right? Lars also, as far as I know, doesn't have a 14 frame wall standing punish, right? So you're not afraid of getting launched with core circle forward 1. Your goal should be, oh, he's just not gonna block any lows. I'm gonna keep doing lows and getting free chip damage until you start launching me, right? Like core circle forward 1 is very chunky. It's doing 20 points of damage, right? And it's, of course, it's a counter hit launcher. So your goal should be like, look for these signs of what your opponent is doing and being like, okay, if he's doing X, he is not prepared for me to do Y. If he starts getting prepared for Y, I can go back to doing X and Z and whatever else, right? That ebb and flow. If he's too busy looking out for your mids, he's not ready for your lows, so you start doing a bunch of lows. Once he starts ducking, then you're like, oh, he's starting to duck, back to the mids, right? That whole ebb and flow. I feel like that's really missing from your game plan at the moment.
Like it pushes his hands away.
Oh. That's
I
a
don't know, bro.
bold strategy. Oh god.
Predicted.
It's not a parry.
Oh god.
Okay, the stage pick working out.
Dude, the stage fire, dude. And they got the fire music.
Yeah, this song is sick. Oh!
I like that setup you do. It's very cheeky.
Wall? Oh!
Oh shit.
There you go.
Oh, drop it.
Well, that's Machizzle's problem. It's not your problem. Nice.
Okay.
Okay.
So where does it go wrong? Because I remember the score being 1-1.
Oh.
Watch the toe!
Okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So a lot of okay. Well, let's keep
Yo,
going.
Marvel! Alright.
Just to be a little patient.
Oh, give it them
Damn
the
it.
fist, bro.
Well, you see the issue, right? Of like, let me just do hop kick in front of my opponent's face, and then it whiffed. Sharper opponents will just immediately whiff punish you. When you don't need to be doing that, right? Like if you hop kick and down forward 1, the speed difference between them in this situation is not very high. If the opponent's not challenging you, and you have the option between a neutral on block mid or a punishable mid, right? Even if down forward 1, let's say down forward 1 gets hit, right? The worst case scenario, down forward 1 gets hits. You're still looking at a +6 advantage, which is still pretty solid, right? Again, the whole situation of, hey, this move has yeah, the ceiling of the move, the high reward potential for the move is not very high, but the goal of of Feng is abusing his safe stuff, right, and then saving the risky stuff for stuff that really matters, right, like your sidestep low launchers and all that other shit. Just doing random hop kicks in their face is just, again, you're building up bad habits that are gonna get you killed.
Bro, when's it gonna end?
Below. Okay, counter hit. There you go. To the wall? To the windows? Where's the shoulder?
Oh my god.
Oh, that was a high. Oh no.
Talked about it before.
Oh.
Got him. GG's. Okay, but I talked about it before is that, again, why are you using Rage here, right? Your damage potential with Rage could very much likely kill him, right? So why are you using it here, right? I'm a big... You're not going to walk... Like, okay, you can make the argument for the potential of, like, having a huge comeback by getting a big knockdown, blah, blah, blah. But you're not going to get a wall splat. You're not going to even push them to the wall, right? There's nothing behind your opponent. All you're doing is just wasting your Rage and then resetting to neutral. When Feng with the threat of Rage will make the opponent start really freaking out, right? So you have to rein it in. You have to pump the brakes and save your resources, right? It's only a resource that you get once per round, but it can completely change the dynamic of the matchup, right? So suddenly your 40 to 50 damage counter hits are, with, counter hit back one into shoulder are suddenly doing like 60 damage or some shit, right? Because of Rage. There's a lot of potential in a lot of ways you can twist the game in your favor by keeping Rage. Don't just throw it away.
I know.
He loves that sweet.
He goes for it every time. I almost feel bad.
Every time. Oh, the wake up. Oh,
But it's like, if he's not learning, that's his fault.
The low.
This is my stage, motherfucker.
Oh, it is 1-1, right? You got the first round.
Don't give it.
Like rematch on the same stage.
Nice.
But
Nice.
Should always at least like.
Get the combo.
Just stage away.
Oh shit. Oh,
yeah,
nice.
station.
Okay, so I'm not gonna talk about too much, but like, you gotta learn the matchup here. A lot of his lows, especially the one you low parried, are launch punishable on block, right? Like, you could have gone, not just launch punishable, right? They're like, a lot of them are stagger blocks or some shit. Like, you could have easily killed him, right? With just one good delayed hop kick punish into death. And that's the big issue we're seeing here, is that, like, your lack of matchup knowledge is really what's killing you, because you don't know where to challenge, you don't feel comfortable in the matchup. You're just kind of like, all right, well, I'm just gonna default to my game plan, when it's like, you could be doing a lot to learning the matchup and then learning where you can start maximizing your rewards and stuff. Anyway, Lars takes a lot of risk anytime he goes for a low, right? And a lot of his lows are what you'll see a lot of common online Lars strats, or just common Lars strats of just building pressure by doing these lows that nobody blocks, right? You gotta have a call out, just be like, hey, I am willing and ready to just block these and kill you, because he's risking 20 points of damage, maybe some of them are pretty chunky, for you possibly getting 80 plus points of damage or some shit, right? Whatever Feng's delayed hopkick combo is, it's gonna be a lot. So I would grind the matchup a bit more. Not going to talk about it too much, but he's very punishable, right? He's very punishable. He can be kind of linear too. I think he's sidestep right. Double check with that. Don't take it for granted. But definitely you could be doing a lot more in the matchup.
Yeah, stage select to reset the mind type of shit.
Yeah, stage select. Don't give him his stage, and you pick yours, the one that you like.
True. Maybe he likes it.
Maybe he does. Who knows? It's the stage, bro.
Nah.
It's the music. It's the music. It's hyping him up. It's hyping him up over there, bro. You hear that?
You might be right. You might be right.
It's a subwoofer over there, okay?
It's a subwoofer?
Yeah. There's two of them.
What you got? Yamaha? Glitch?
I forgot. No, that's Logitech, bro.
Oh, Logitech. Oh, shit. Okay.
We go bang for buck.
Bang for the buck. Bang for the buck. It does its job. It does its job.
It does its job and it's the right price.
Got him at the flea market.
Oh, you don't know about that.
We got him at the pulga.
I can't rely on that.
Oh, unfortunate.
Ooh. There you go. There you go, step bro.
Oh!
Drop. Probably misalignment. The low. Another low.
Okay, we like to see
Low city.
Nice. You learned.
Give me a
That
win.
is a
time.
launch
I think
punish,
my,
but like,
mic is too high. Sorry.
No, you're good. Put it all the way up.
Okay.
I guess you
There you
kind of
go.
got
Yeah,
the
for the
punish
game, put
in
it
some
on.
way.
Okay.
What's up?
What up?
All right, so damn. Okay, so we're getting close to the end of this set
Very
here.
close match.
I almost beat Justin, bro. I was this close.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty damn close.
You didn't get any donuts?
Oh, a shoulder bash. Back 1+2. Oh man,
Oh, he dropped it again.
bro. That's not the first time he
Oh.
dropped it then. Oh, back one. Into shoulder confirmed combo. Off the counter hit. Oh,
Nice.
drops
Oh
the
my-
race drive.
Unfortunate.
Nice. Okay. Oh my God. Too
And there's always
close.
back
Bringing
one.
it to the final round here.
Step bro's getting too close to step sis.
Oh, launch punish.
Oh,
Let's
thank
go.
you. All right, Mitchell. Kill him.
To the wall. Yeah, you gotta. That's the thing with Feng. You have to if you're gonna do 4-3-4, you really have to commit to it.
Ooh.
Oh,
my.
Two of them.
Holy
Two of them.
shit.
Oh!
Nice.
No,
Good shit.
step.
All right. Let's do the usual. Neutral. Punishment / matchup knowledge combo / Oki personal opinion stuff. Neutral. I talked a lot about it, but your approach is very awkward, right? You're trying to approach a lot with moves. You're trying to go for these, not gimmicky, but very like, you're going for these setups, and it's like, okay, well, any opponent that just waits a little bit, and then you're gonna die, right? Again, it's not what you're doing is like the worst thing in the world, but I feel like you're building up bad habits that any opponent with just a smidge of like playing slightly more passive or more patient, especially, right? And then all of a sudden you're just eating damage left and right for things that you don't have control over, right? And then it'll be like a negative feedback loop. Your setup doesn't work, they just punish you, you start losing out on the poking war, and you're losing damage on all these punishes, you don't have a life lead, so you feel like you need to take bigger and bigger risks, and sometimes it plays out, right? Sometimes it works out, but a lot more often the opponent just blocks something, launch punishable, and then they kill you for it. You need to really experiment with your poking. Your poking is just almost non-existent, right? down 2, down back 2 sometimes, right? Down back 3, a lot more down back 3. Or if you're you're like not confident in the down back 3, doing a lot more course go forward 1, doing a lot more mids, right? Doing just using down forward 4. Don't do the string, right? Just do down forward 4 as a poke, right? Test them, like, oh, are they ducking? Are they ducking? Down forward 4, down forward 4, and then on the last one do down back 3 or something, right? Because they're conditioned to expect down forward 4. Your game plan should be focusing on poking the opponent until you feel they're frustrated enough to go for a big call out, and then you'll do your big call out, right? Sometimes it'll be sidestep 4, sometimes it'll just be block and launch punish, right? So you really have to experiment more with your small Tekken. Your big Tekken is already there, right? You big Tekken doing all these big Tekken moves with high reward but also medium to high risk. But your small Tekken is non-existent, right? Your small Tekken, a lot of poking is just very, like, just not there. And so you end up taking a lot more risk where you shouldn't. Let's continue. Punishment / matchup knowledge. You just don't know the Lars matchup, and you're not confident enough to make a read, right? Like, yeah, are these lows somewhat unseeable? Sure, right? But a lot of them can be easily predicted, and then on a good prediction, you will have likely killed Machisel, right? Because a combination of just one big combo from Feng, then a little, like, one counter hit, and then a mix-up, and then they're dead, right? Like, there's so many ways for the situation to go in your favor with just a little bit more matchup knowledge. Or even a good sidestep into forward 3-4 or something, right? Like, there's a lot of ways it can work out in your favor, but you need to work on those, right? You need to just lab the matchup, right? What moves was Machisel doing? How could you have punished, right? What was he approaching with? What could you have done in those situations where he's approaching? And also, like, what is Machisel as a player not doing? If we ignore Lars as a character for a second, the character matchup, you can always lab yourself. Just rewind this match and look at, like, what is Machisel not doing, right? There's a lot of times where he's not blocking low. He's very scared of a lot of your mids. He just keeps blocking mids. When you're back turned, he immediately challenges you or ducks, right? And then you kind of stop doing back turn stuff, which is unfortunate, but I think you could have kept going. I like Feng's back turn options a lot. Like, it worked out at the end. Like, you got the throw, and that was sick. But, using back turn a bit more, and then remembering to use the back turn evasiveness, right? So when you back turn, press down back, get out of there, cancel the back turn stance, right? So that way you don't just leave yourself vulnerable like that. But you can use that as information. If you do back turn and he immediately presses a button, and then you hold down back and avoid it, and then, kill him for it, solid. But just, what is Machisel failing to do, and how can you take advantage of it? That is the core focus we're trying to focus on here. Combos / Oki. I think you do have the while standing 1+2 Sabaki combo down. You just got to make it consistent. There's not really much else to say here. I feel like your combos are fine. You just need to be a bit more consistent. Your Oki, I'd have to look at again. I think was okay. But I think you just needed to focus more on what does Machisel do on wake up first, and then figure out how you're going to, abuse that, right? Again, your Oki is very similar to your pressure and your neutral. It's, what does my opponent like to do on wake up, and what can I do to fuck him up for it? That's basic, just super basic, super simple. If my opponent likes to just stay on the ground, I'll do my ground hitting options. If my opponent likes to get up really quickly, I'll bait something and go for a whiff punish, right? Or you'll go for, like, some counter hit stuff that'll just destroy them on wake up. Personal opinion stuff. Options that I think are neat, but your mileage may vary. You got to use a lot more pokes. A lot more. One jab. Not 1-2. Well, 1-2 is also good. Not 1-1, right? Not 1-1, 2-1, whatever the 10 string is. Just a singular jab and maybe the occasional 1-2 for approach. There's a lot of mileage you can get with just 1 and 1-2, right? A lot more down 2. Down 2's really chunky low, right? That that the opponent is not, they're going to be so much on the lookout for down 2, right? They're going to be playing at these ranges where all of a sudden you do down back 3 and then they just get hit, right? So there's a lot you could be doing to just bolster your offense by just poking a little bit more. You didn't use a lot of forward 3. I like forward 3 a lot, right? You got to make sure, you know, obviously you got to make sure that the opponent is like not challenging you too much. I would try to use a lot more forward 3. I just like that move a lot. It's really powerful. And then especially back turn, just do a lot more like back turn 3, right? Don't do down 3, right? You can just do a lot of solid work with just back turn 1 into back turn 3, right? Or back turn 1 and back turn 3. They can cover a lot of options. Oh, when you have the life lead, just hang back and keep pressing Kenpo. What is the opponent going to do about it? Rushing at you and they'd eat down back 3, right? You really need to experiment how you can play keep out. I think that's a really important thing you should focus on. Not everybody's going to be good at it, right? The keep out might not be good for your playstyle, which is completely understandable. But I think you should really focus on it and really practice it, because keep out is going to be very important for Feng, right? One of the strongest things he can do is just backdash Kenpo, right? Forcing the opponent to whiff and then destroying them with any Kenpo button or just a regular old whiff punish, right? But if you're not comfortable on defense, if you'd like to press a lot of buttons on defense, it's just going to get you killed. Right? So you have to be very careful. But you need to start utilizing a lot of Feng's keep out and other options at distances, because frustrating the opponent into making a mistake is how Feng can obliterate people. Right? They get too antsy, they want to start pressing buttons, and then you just press any of your counter hits or sabaki, and then boom. Right? So if you have, you know the drill, if you have any questions, let me know. If there's anything I can help with, anything was unclear, anything you disagreed with, I'm always open to feedback. All right? Stay safe. Have a good one.